On episode 435 of the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet Krista Stryker and discuss her book, The 12-Minute Athlete. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/435. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness? The 40 Plus Fitness podcast is here for you. I'm your host, Alan Meisner. I'm an NSAM certified personal trainer with a specialization in corrective exercise and fitness nutrition. Let me be your coach as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go. This episode of the 40 Plus Fitness podcast is sponsored by Lumen. Lumen is the first handheld device to measure a person's metabolism in real time through your breath. It will tell you if your body is using carbs or fat for fuel. Then it provides you with personalized meal plans and insights to help you reach your weight and fitness goals. Lumen is working to improve the metabolic health and quality of life one breath at a time. Go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/Lumen, LUMEN, and use the code 40FitnessPodcast25 to get $25 off. I'm a big fan of having data about your health and fitness, and Lumen can be a great tool on your journey. Visit 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/Lumen. Use the code 40FitnessPodcast25 to get that wonderful listener discount. I'll be sure to have a link and the code in the show notes at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/435. Our guest today is an NSCA certified personal trainer and a leading expert on high-intensity interval training, HIIT, and bodyweight fitness. From trying her first push-up in college to teaching herself to do pull-ups and handstands, Krista is living proof of her philosophy that everybody is an athlete. She has helped tens of thousands of people to unlock their full athletic potential through her 12-minute athlete blog and fitness app. With no further ado, here is Krista Stryker. Krista, welcome to 40 Plus Fitness.
Thank you so much for having me. Honored to be here.
Now, your book is called The 12-Minute Athlete, Get Fitter, Faster, and Stronger Using HIIT and Your Body Weight. And you said something at the very beginning of the book that I need to start adopting, I guess, for lack of a better word, is calling people athletes. And I think too many times we think of athletes as the guys and gals we see on TV, and we don't often think of ourselves as athletes.
It's true. I definitely never considered myself an athlete until, 5 years ago or so. It's just this kind of belief in our society that, we look at these people on TV and we think they're the athletes and they can train hard and do these amazing, impossible seeming things. But, we're mere mortals and we could never do hard things like that. And I really like to kind of help bring out everyone's inner athlete, because I really do believe that everyone can have some sort of movement that gives them joy, and that we all really are athletes deep down.
Yeah, when I first got started into all of this, it was actually a Tough Mudder that I wanted to do with my daughter, because she was getting into the CrossFit and doing, these mud obstacle races and really enjoying herself. And I was thinking, I don't want to be the father that when my daughter says, "Hey, I'm going to go do this thing," that I'm the spectator. I'm like, no, I want to be there with her. I want to cross the finish line with her. I want to do those things. And at the point where I made the decision and then the commitment that that's what I was going to do, I was nowhere near being able to do a Tough Mudder. 8 months later, because I had that mindset of getting there and being there with my daughter, I did it. Now, that was fairly athletic. When I was younger, I did a lot of athletic things, but it doesn't have to be Tough Mudder. As you put in the book, It's like you just be an awesome grandmother that keeps up with the grandkids when they run from the monkeys to the lions. But being an athlete just means performing very well at the things that you want to do in your life.
Exactly. So well said.
Now, many of us don't have access to a gym, or periods of time when we don't have access to a gym. When I was traveling a good bit for work, sometimes you're staying in a hotel and the gym they have isn't really equipped to do the things that I wanted to do. So we go to using body weight. And I think a lot of people miss out on how effective body weight can be. Can you talk about some of the benefits of body weight exercises?
Yes, I am a huge fan of bodyweight exercises for so many reasons. Like you said, one of the main reasons is that you can really do them anywhere. So if you're traveling, if you're stuck at home, if you're, in a park outside, you can still work out and really get an effective workout that way. Another thing that I really love about body weight type training is that you can really scale it to make it either much easier if you're starting at a beginner level or much harder if you're more advanced. And so you look at something like a basic push up, it seems pretty simple, but a lot of people, I'm sure can't do a proper push up. So the way to work up to that is you break it down into steps. And the way I like to do it is with a hands elevated push up because you can really gauge that progress. You start out on something higher, like a wall or a countertop, work your way down eventually to the floor. And now, if that gets too easy, then there's so many ways to make it more challenging. You can work towards a one arm push up, you can do explosive variations. Body weight training is just like it's so cool because there's always ways to bump up the level or to break it down if you need to build up more strength in order to get that full exercise.
Yeah, I train various people, and even though we're all over the age of 40, I have some that are relatively fit and some that are just getting started.
Of
And so, yes,
course.
the countertop push up is kind of a staple for me for most people that are just getting started. Make sure you're wearing skid resistant shoes because the tile floor can get
Yes.
slippery. But yeah, the countertop
Good
is
point.
an excellent way for you to start getting stronger in the chest and get that push up. Whereas then I have other folks that are a little bit more athletic and been doing this a good bit longer. And the dive bomber, which you demonstrate in the book, I'm like, here's a push up.
Yeah, that's a
This is
great
going to be
one.
hard, and they do it. They go do it in their workout, and the next time I hear from them, it's like, oh God, never have me do that again, please. And then, of
Yeah,
course, it's in their next workout because that's what a
of
trainer
course.
wants to hear. But it's with body weight, and all you've really done is taken your body weight, and by changing the leverage and changing things up, you've made it much more difficult or much easier depending on what the training needs, what you need.
Exactly.
And then I think one of the other ones, and you talked about this a little bit in the book, is that with body weight, the likelihood of you actually hurting yourself is lower.
It's so true because you don't have heavy weights around. You're not going to drop something on your foot. You're not going to do some crazy thing with an overhead squat and tweak your shoulders. There's so much less likelihood of injury with body weight training. It's very cool. And it's super functional. So, usually, what I see with people who start training body weight exercises more is their whole body starts to work together better. And so, any nagging injuries and stuff, they might just go away, which is amazing.
Yeah, and that is probably what I would say would be my favorite part of body weight exercises is for almost every one of them that you would be doing, there's a functional aspect to your life. So if we're talking about body weight squats, well, we squat and sit every day, and the ability to have that leg strength to do that is very important. And because we don't have a huge load on our shoulders, particularly early on, we're just doing body weight squats, we're less likely to hurt our knees because, again, if we're doing the squat poorly, we won't be able to do it very well with body weight. But if we put load on there, then the likelihood of injuring ourselves is so much higher.
It's so true. It makes me cringe every time I go in a gym and someone's doing heavy squats in their squat form. It's so bad. I just want to help them and get them to do body weight squats first, but people don't always know that's the thing to do.
Yeah, and with the gym that I run, I actually have to go say something. I
Of
used
course
to when I
you
was
do.
training. Yeah, even when I was training people, but I was like, if they're not my client, and I'm not going to butt in. I'm doing my
Yeah,
workout, they're
for
doing theirs,
sure.
and I'm just watching them from the side of my eyes so that they don't kill themselves. But
Exactly.
it's like, okay, I got to be ready to go grab a weight if someone starts to fall. But other than that, I'm going to ignore them. But now running a gym, it's like I see someone there, I was like, I need go, I need to go talk to this
Sweet.
person. And
Yes.
we'll have a little conversation. They may or may not listen to me, but I just I don't want someone to get hurt. So, but body weight is
It's true.
exercises are kind of the cool thing about them is it's very difficult to hurt yourself. The progression's there. And this episode of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is sponsored by Let's Get Checked. I typically get blood labs done 3-4 times per year, and I've dreaded it every time. It is time consuming, expensive, and now I have to worry about why other people might be in the same waiting room with me. Let's Get Checked has a brilliant model for getting lab work done from the comfort of your own home. You order the tests you want, they send you the testing kits with full, easy to understand instructions. You get your sample and send it into them with the prepaid shipping label provided. Their labs are CLIA approved and CAP accredited, which is the highest accreditation available. But what I love most about their approach is how you can order just the tests you want. Full labs can get very expensive. With Let's Get Checked, you pick and choose the labs you want, and as a result, you pay less. Cholesterol, hormones, PSA, vitamin deficiency, CRP, thyroid, they have them all, but you only pay for the tests you want. No setting a doctor's appointment, going to the doctor, finding local testing lab if they even have one in your town, setting another appointment, getting the sample drawn, and waiting. With Let's Get Checked, you'll have your results probably before you can even get in to see your doctor. A physician will review your results, and if there's anything going on, they have nurses that you can talk with. It is a really cool process. Let's Get Checked makes it easy for anyone to get professional testing and consultation from the comfort of their home. If you're trying to improve your health, you need measurable goals. Blood work is the best health marker you can use to know that you're on track. Go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/LGT and use the code ALLAN20. That's ALLAN20 to get 20% off. Visit 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/LGT and be sure to use the code ALLAN20 to get your 20% discount. I'll be sure to have a link and the code in the show notes at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/435. I'd like to talk about progression because I talked about, two kind of extremes, the counter push-up versus the dive bomber is two different levels, but there are
Yeah.
lots of different ways that you can make these exercises more progressive.
So many ways. So if you, like I said, if you can do the basic kind of full version of what you think of the exercise, then you can start. There's a couple ways to make it more challenging. You can work it unilaterally. So you take a body weight squat. Well, instead of going down on two legs, do a one-legged squat, a pistol squat, and that will make it significantly harder. So that's one way. And from there, you don't typically go from that body weight squat straight to the pistol squat. You do the progressions of the pistol squat to help build up that strength. Or you can add a plyometric aspect to it. So that means jumping, explosiveness, all that is going to make it much more challenging. And you see the typical athletes that you think of, the track athletes and basketball players, and they're doing all that stuff. They're not doing a ton of heavy weights. They're doing a lot of body weight training, a lot of plyometric training to build up, maximum strength and explosiveness. So this stuff really works.
Yeah. And another one I like to use a lot is tempo. If you're
Yeah, for
using,
sure.
one of the cool things about plyometrics is you're applying power, and it does build explosive power. But if you really want to see how strong you are, particularly when we're talking about body weights, slow down.
It's
If you
true.
slow down the movement where there's no momentum and you're having to hold yourself under that tension for a longer period of time, it gets a lot harder.
Yeah, that's actually one of the ways that I love to help people build up strength for things like pull-ups is those really slow negatives. They're brutal, but they really work. And you can
Yes.
do that with so many different things, as you know.
Once you've gotten yourself to a point, absolutely. I mean, so you want to have some base level, and then once you start
Exactly.
really trying to work the pull-ups, and then yeah, the doing the negatives is really good because you're kind of at that point. If you're close to being able to do the pull-ups, you kind of reached almost, I'm not going to say intermediate, but you're at a higher level of training because you've been doing some other pulling movements. So I really do like how you take someone through each of these progressions to help them build out their strength until they're able to do the exercise properly.
Yeah, and it's also helpful for your mindset. A lot of people look at something like a pull up if they've never been able to do it before and they just can't even picture themselves doing it. It seems so hard and impossible. But if you just break it down into these little steps, and then every time, every couple of weeks or so, depending on how fast you're making progress, you bump it up just a little bit more. It just becomes so much more doable in your mind, and it just helps people like really accomplish big scary seeming things that they never would have done if they were to just go towards that higher level thing to begin with.
Yeah. Now, in the book, you also get into HIT training, which is high intensity interval training. Can you talk about some of the benefits of HIT, what it is, and how it helps us?
Yeah, so HIT training, high intensity interval training, it's a style of training that basically you're training or working as hard as you possibly can for a very short amount of time, and then you rest. And so there are different kind of intervals that you can set up. I tend to like doing like 30 seconds on, anywhere between 10 seconds or 30 seconds rest. And what you're thinking about during a HIIT workout is essentially, I like to tell people, like, think about it like you're sprinting during that work period. You really want to give it your absolute all. You want to feel like you're not really holding back. And one of the huge benefits of HIIT training is that it's very short. So a lot of people think that they need, 45 minutes to an hour to get in a good workout, especially like a cardio workout. But HIIT training, I mean, my workouts are 12 minutes, and people who try them, if they're really pushing themselves and they're at the level that they are able to push themselves that hard, they walk away just like spent afterwards. And that's what a good HIIT workout does. And the type of, like, you can add so many types of different exercises for this, for HIIT workouts. But one of the things, like, I like to do jump roping exercises, or like we're talking about plyometric exercises, burpees, things like that, where you really feel like you can just push really hard during that workout. And yeah, it's gonna like really help your overall stamina, helps your VO2 max. There's all these scientific studies that show that a HIIT workout that's between 10 and 20 minutes has the same cardio benefits as a moderate intensity workout that's more like 45 minutes or so. Or the HIIT workout might actually have more benefits, which is super cool.
Yeah. For the record, I do have jump ropes at my gym. So just one that a
Yeah.
little bitty gym, but I did buy some jump ropes because I
All
do
the
see them
good
as,
gyms do.
yeah. So
Just
if you're,
not the big box gyms.
yeah. And so, a couple of different things that you said there that I want to emphasize because, a lot of people misconstrue just interval training with HIIT training. And I think that that's kind of, when I hear someone say, yeah, I did a 45-minute HIIT training, I'm like,
Right.
no. Lance Armstrong
I
can't do a
have the
45-minute
same
HIIT
response.
training.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh.
he's wiped. And so I think, one is the intensity. And the way I like to describe
Yes.
it is if you imagine you're walking through the woods with your baby granddaughter in your arms and you see a bear and you have to run from that bear. And if your work
I
session's
love
30
it.
seconds, if you slow down, that bear is going to get you and your grandbaby. So you're going to run with every bit of energy that you have. Like there's nowhere else for you to go, nothing else for you to worry about. You're just going to run as hard as you possibly can. That's that intensity. There's a set period of time,
Right.
and then you're gonna have a recovery. So now the bear stopped chasing you, walking through the woods. When your rest is over, if it's 10 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever your rest interval is, oops, there's another bear. Take off. And typically, for most people, 6, 8, maybe 10 of these rounds is about all the work you really need. At that point, you're not recovering, and you're spent. And I think if you're really doing HIIT right, it's very short, it's very intense, and then it's done. And one of the styles and we want to talk about this in just a second, is a style called Tabata, and that quite literally can be done in 4 minutes, and is really really cool. But there are all these different intervals that you can set, of how you want to go about doing the work, doing the recovery, and training yourself to, because it's working your cardiovascular, whatever work you're doing, you're getting some work there, be it balance or endurance or strength. Because I've seen all kinds of different exercises that can be done in the form of HIIT. But I would caution, if you're going to do HIIT training, uh, do it with body weight. Don't try HIIT
Yes.
training with equipment. Sometimes I've seen people try to do things like some barbell movements and things like that, and the form just breaks down, and the likelihood of hurting yourself does too. So you do not need equipment. This is a HIIT should be a body weight training, period. And that's just how I feel about it. And then
Yeah,
it's
I
also very important.
100% agreement.
Yeah. And then the other point is, and I'd like to talk a little bit about this, is the recovery, because HIIT is so intense, that for most of us, it's not something we want to do every day.
Yeah, for most people, even 2 or 3 times a week is plenty. I definitely try to recommend at least twice a week, and you could do it, anywhere up to 4-ish times a week would be ideal for if you're at a really high level, but you really don't even need that much. Yeah.
And so to me, it's just making sure that you're giving your body the opportunity to fully recover before you try to do this again. And you'll know it. You'll know if you're not doing it, because your performance won't be nearly what it was before. If you are doing jump rope, and you realize, okay, I can basically do, and whether you're doing the double unders or the singles, if you're counting, you'll start to realize, okay, the first interval I did this many, and then the second interval was a little less, and then a little less, and a little less. But you come into that next workout, if you haven't really recovered, you're not hitting those same numbers. So pay attention to your recovery, and you can get a lot of benefit out of HIIT.
Yeah, and that's one of many reasons I really encourage people to track their reps. As annoying as it can be to count during an interval, you'll know whether you're not recovered, whether you're feeling sluggish that day, and you'll know whether you're making progress or not. So if, the first week you start and you're only able to do 6 burpees in 30 seconds, and then a few weeks later you're able to do 8, like that's awesome. But you wouldn't know that unless you counted.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I mentioned earlier Tabatas. I love Tabatas because they answer the question, well, I just really don't have that much time. Tabata solves that problem. Can you
Right.
talk about what a Tabata is, the kind of the origin story, and then just the structure, and some basic examples of how we can use that structure?
Yeah, so the Tabata was developed by, do you know the scientist's name? He's from Japan. I'm blanking on his
Yeah,
name.
I blank on his name all
Um,
the time too.
Great.
So
Okay,
don't
so
ask
that
me. Yeah,
so
don't ask me. The
if
Japanese
you
guy.
Google it, you will find it out. Yes,
Yeah.
Japanese guy, super cool. Anyway, he found that this specific structure where it's 10 seconds rest and 20 seconds work. So for 8 rounds is incredibly effective. But the key is with those 20 seconds, like think of it like I like your bear analogy. You have to go as hard as you possibly can for this to be effective. Like you can't just breeze through a Tabata workout and think that it's going to give you great results. You have to go super, super hard. And so, like you said, with the interval workouts or HIIT workouts, body weight training is perfect for this. So a classic Tabata workout is sprinting, 20-second sprint, 10 seconds rest, 8 rounds, and like believe me, you will be spent. You can also do it with various other bodyweight exercises, jump roping, burpees, all those types of fun things. And it's not super fun. It's really hard, but it's 4 minutes and you're literally done. So they're an amazing workout you can do.
Yeah, I've structured workouts with using the Tabata, and it's like just something as simple as the body weight squat.
Yeah.
And I've seen, people that I've been training, and if I'm doing a group training, I'll tell someone, if you're really really fit and you want to make this kind of exciting, add little plyometric jump at the end. So you do jump
Yeah.
squats. If you're really, if you're less so, then just do the body weight squats, but just keep moving. And invariably after about round 4, we start finding out who was really what they thought. And anyone that started with
Right.
jump squats is typically slowing down and now just doing squats, body weight squats, and they get a great workout. And that's why they were hugely fit. But it's, again, the intensity of this and the short recovery periods is just something that's really, really going to tax you. And there's one you had in the book that I really liked, an example of a way to adapt to a Tabata, because the original Tabata basically had 4 set exercises that he had you go through, and we've adapted that now using different exercises. But the burpee mountain climber is
Yeah,
one good example you gave me. Could you
that
explain
was
how
fun.
we can basically do a Tabata using the burpee and the mountain climber as the exercises?
Yes. So I don't remember if that one in the book was the Tabata, was
Yeah,
the
you
10 seconds
alternated
of
them.
rest?
Yeah, you alternate. No, it was
Yeah.
not the
Okay.
rest. The mountain climber was
Just
not the rest.
alternating.
It's just, yeah, it was just an alternating of the 2 exercises.
So all you're going to do with that one is you start with 20 seconds of burpees, take your 10-second rest, and then 20 seconds of mountain climbers. And so you're going to end up doing 4 of each, and it's going to feel brutal by the end. But it's going to be really, really effective. And the other cool thing that I think about this type of training is it never gets any easier. No matter how fit you get, it will never be easy, because if it is, it just means you're not pushing yourself hard enough. So it's a way to constantly improve and progress as an athlete.
And as you mentioned earlier, if you're counting your reps, then at the end, okay, when I was first started doing this burpee mountain climber Tabata, I was maybe doing 6, like you said, maybe in the 20 seconds, maybe 4 burpees, and then, maybe 8 mountain climbers. And now, I notice when I start, I'm actually getting the 6th one in, or the 12th one in. And then I'm still doing more at the end because my stamina has improved so much. So
Yep,
yeah, it is something that when you're training, and even training with someone else. So if you've got someone else you're training with, and you're maybe a lot more fit than they are, or they're a lot more fit than you are, it doesn't matter, because you're in your own battle, you're in your own head, and soon enough you're not paying
exactly.
attention to anybody but just trying to catch your
No.
breath.
Yeah, you don't care what the other person's doing,
Not at all.
which is great.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
people of all levels can train together this way. It's great.
And I think that's what's really cool. Like I said, we can all train together, or we can train at home, and we're using our body weight, and we're using the benefits of HIIT training to basically come away with being better athletes. And by athlete, as we mentioned earlier, there's being able to perform better in everything we want to do.
Yes.
I define wellness as being the healthiest, fittest, and happiest you can be. What are 3 strategies or tactics to get and stay well?
I like that definition of wellness. I mean, I guess my obvious first answer is movement. So move a little every single day, and do some sort of workout on a regular basis, whether it's you just try to figure out what works for you. So if you start out with a couple of HIIT workouts a week, and then maybe do some slower body weight movements and walks the other days, whatever it is, just really make sure that movement is built into your life, because it's going to make everything better. And so another thing that I really highly recommend, especially for people who might be struggling with anxiety or overwhelm or things like that, is paying attention to breathing. So I really like this style of breathing called box breathing. Um, and that's essentially where you're breathing in through your diaphragm and out, and exhale for, you can start with an inhale of 4 and an exhale of 4. Do it for 5 minutes or something. You don't have to do it for very long. And it's going to really help calm the anxiety, calm your nerves, reset your nervous system. It's a great thing to start your day with. I highly recommend it for people who haven't tried it. It feels a little weird at first, especially the diaphragm style breathing, because it's like you're breathing through your stomach more than your chest, but it makes a big difference. The other thing that I recommend, it's kind of, I consider it wellness, but to always be learning something. So whether that's learning a physical skill or, training for something like a Tough Mudder, or taking an online class of something that you've always wanted to learn, reading a cool new book that you're excited about, having something like that going on at all times. It's really great for your mental health. And all of this is great for your physical health too. So all of the physical, mental well-being stuff, it's in my mind, it's all connected.
Great. The book is called The 12-Minute Athlete. And what I really like about it is that it is body weight, it is something you can do at home. You've put the progressions there, there are images. And I can say this I train a lot of blind individuals with my online training. In fact, now a large percentage of my clients are vision impaired. And you do a really good job of explaining each exercise, each movement, along with the images. But just the explanation itself is really, really good to learn each of these exercises and their progressions. If someone wanted to learn more about you and more about the book, Krista, where would you like for me to send them?
You can find 12 and Athlete pretty much by searching anywhere these days, which is great. But you can go to 12minuteathlete.com, or I'm at 12-minute athlete on social media. The book you can find on any online retailer, Amazon, all those good places. So it's pretty easy to find now.
Okay. Well, you can go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/435, and I'll be sure to have links there. Krista, thank you for being a part of 40 Plus Fitness.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
And I want to thank you for being a part of 40 Plus Fitness. I'm really glad that you're here and enjoying the podcast enough that you're still listening at the end. I would like to invite you to join us on Facebook. We have a wonderful, thriving Facebook group at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group. That'll take you to the group page and you can ask to join there. Really cool. We do weekly challenges. We have all kinds of stuff out there. Really enjoy having people out there, and I'd love to have you with us. So go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we meet Marcus Freudenman and discuss his documentary, Cancer is Curable Now. Until then, have a happy and healthy week.